Hello and welcome back to the Ice Mac MMA podcast. I'm Jackson McCarty, joined as always by my buddy Alex Eisman. And before we jump into the handful of fights that the UFC has offered up over the last couple of weeks, make sure to follow us or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get them. We're there. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can. Helps us out a ton. And Alex, um, this is just and I know we talked about it. We skipped last episode because of how few fights we even had to discuss. But this is just such a sad state of affairs for this month as a whole.
Well, that's what I was saying the last time we were on is like they're just making us work for it. They're making us work and earn watching UFC 300 because it's just the gap between 299 and 300 is just a desolate place. Not great.
It's so like don't be shocked if we also don't have an episode next week. Is
Yeah.
what I would advise anybody that's watching or listening. Do not be shocked if you do not get an episode next week because the card after this, it's literally just Brendan Allen and Chris Curtis. Like that's all there. Like Alexander Hernandez versus Damon Jackson. Like, is that what we're supposed to get hyped on? Like,
It's the second best fight on the card. Yeah, no.
yeah. Do you want to actually, since I brought it up, do you just want to throw Brendan and Chris on our predictions here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. Because I didn't think about it, but you know who
Smart.
I'm taking. Um, but cool. So yeah, that's just do not expect an episode. And we really don't even have much news. Like it's just been a desolate place across MMA as a whole right now.
Yeah. Besides a dude getting bit, that's
Yes.
pretty much
Yeah. Bite of the
getting
night.
a I got bit bonus. That's
Yeah.
about
And
it.
then didn't he got a tattoo surrounding it
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, he did, which
Yeah.
I thought was pretty funny actually. But
Yeah, that dude that he could actually like turn that into some kind of marketing. Like if he's smart with it and doesn't hold on to it for too long, he could use that for something. But
yeah,
yeah, bad news. If the only news we have is a guy got bit, and by the way, haven't said bro's name yet. Like,
he's
like
getting Andre Lima, right?
yeah, but but that shows the state. Like we didn't even say dude's name. We're just
Yeah,
like a guy got bit, and that's it. That's all we got. Um, but all right, let's jump into these fights that we had talked about in the last episode a couple weeks ago. We'll start with Tai Tuivasa, Marcin Tybura. Tai Tuivasa had it for a second. He had the thing for a couple fights. He was doing shoeies. Everybody loved him. Everybody thought he could be something. He lost the thing. Marcin Tybura subs him in the first. The miracle run's over. This is like what happens if you made March Madness a round robin. Like
yeah,
you like your 11 team or your 11 seed comes in and gets a couple big wins, and then you just have to watch them get stomped out for the rest of the way. And it's like, oh, the magic's gone. That's where we're at.
yeah. And it sucks because he has a great personality, but this whole deal is brought up because to do one of your favorite analogies that we've kind of concocted, Tai Tuivasa is the John Jones of Parker Porter's.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's also the John Jones of Taco Bell, apparently. Because that brother had a 24 party pack sitting up in the corner before his fight. So yeah, but yes, you're right. Or you can even call him the Parker Porter of John Jones's. Like it works both ways.
Well, where I was going with that is like, listen, I think everyone is kind of over the fat heavyweights just existing and fighting and getting main card spots on fight nights and all that stuff. And Tai Tuivasa is probably the best of them.
Yes.
And if he's getting submitted by Tybura in the first round, let's just clean house and get fighters with talent and not literally just wait, who are
Well,
not just big humans.
Well, it is absurd because like you look at the conditioning and the care that you have to put into being an MMA fighter at literally every other weight class. It's like to compare it to whenever MMA was in its infancy. It is night and day different. There's no more freak show, there's no more circus fight, there's no more any of that. Heavyweight, you still get that. It's like this little time capsule of what MMA used to be, but can't be anymore because there are dudes that are just horrifying and train themselves well and will come out there and just put you to bed. And Tai Tuivasa has not proven himself to be one of those guys who's going to take the sport serious enough to add those extra layers that you need in the modern day MMA.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, I mean, I know with some heavyweights, like weight cutting isn't an issue, even if you are kind of jacked and like really talented, but it's just the dudes who will just eat whatever and like not like drink water for a day so they can make 265. Like,
Right.
what good does that do for anyone?
No, well, and yeah, it's like there's a difference between cutting weight and just being healthy. Like
Yeah.
if you're not being healthy coming into your fight, everybody sees it. It's like, yeah, it's like going to do a speech and having no words written down and you don't know what the subject line. It's like you're just flying blind. You're here for the party and that's all you're here for. You can't do that.
Yeah. So I'm pretty I'm just over this whole overweight bad or phase rather of
Yeah.
the UFC and and having it take up spots on main cards, fight night main events,
Taking up
and
promotion.
taking away from the flyweights, like we always say,
The little guys.
taking away from like the guys who are in shape, training, talented, like have a lot of phases of their games where these fat heavyweights, it's just, all right, I'm going to punch you as hard as I can. You're going to punch me as hard as I can. Let's see who falls first.
Right. And half the time it's not even who like puts you to bed, it's who like literally topples over.
Yeah.
It's a shame, genuinely. But like
Yeah.
I had to pull up flyweight right quick because I want to kind of compare. So as far as like fights away from a title, I would say Matt Schnell is probably as many fights away from a title as Tai Tuivasa was coming into this fight. Two or three ish. If you gave that to Matt Schnell, you can make a star. If you give
Yeah.
that spot to Tahir Alumbekov or Alumbekov, is that how you say that?
Yeah.
If you
Ooh.
give that spot to him,
Yeah.
you can make a star. Like there's so many options. Manel Cape, like promote the guys that not only are showing that they are capable of like being marketable dudes, but are putting in the work.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be
Yeah.
an excuse. This is not the 90s anymore. It's not the early 2000s where all you need is a couple big dudes because that's all that you really had to have. Like from the Mike Tyson era of martial art and boxing and all that. Like all you had to do is have a couple of heavyweights. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah. So that's our soapbox
Yeah.
on the on the on the Parker Porters of the world.
That, my friend, is the most valuable piece of content we'll have over the next like 4 weeks. Well,
Oh, not
from the
even 4 weeks. We got 3 weeks until.
from the last 2 weeks and the next 2 weeks. That's the most
Yes.
valuable piece of content.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But all right, broad check time. Christian Rodriguez wasn't quite what we wanted to see. Probably shouldn't have came away with that decision either.
No, definitely not. That was surprising to say the least that he came away with that. Feels like an agenda pusher, possibly to kind of keep his hype train afloat. But if you watch the fight, uh, I could not imagine anyone was impressed with the performance that he put up.
No, well, unfortunately for him, not a lot of people were watching, and
Yeah,
I mean that unironically. Like Dana can still do something with him because nobody saw that performance. Like he did not lose all this juice. It's like Patty versus Jared Gordon. Like I know that was on a bigger stage, but it's like the bubble hasn't been wholly popped. But yeah, it's hard to have much love. Like he's gonna stay around that same level of comp for his next fight.
Yeah, I agree. And it would take something crazy from him in his next fight to kind of recapture what people saw in him at his high point, which I think was the Rosas fight, because that was on a pay-per-view, I believe,
Yeah.
where I mean, he showed up and dominated. And
Raul and Bo already only fight on pay-per-views.
yeah, which is that's a discussion for 300 as to why Bo is fighting
Yeah,
on the main card. We're
we'll
not
dive
going to
in
do that
deep.
now.
I'll be defending Cody Garbrandt's honor hard,
Yeah, yeah,
but
I know.
yeah,
I know.
it's the C Rod ordeal. He's just very fortunate that nobody was watching because that was not a performance that you want people to remember. Um,
And no one will remember it, to be honest.
right. I mean, I'll be happy if I forget it soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all right, let's go ahead and hop in. Let's start with the Rose and Amanda fight since we're, our normal format's all kind of screwy right now. But that was closer to like an actual Rose fight than I expected, especially hearing that Trevor was not going to be in her corner, which to me indicates that the Predator was again in control of her camp and her situation. So I assumed she was just going to lay down because that's pretty much what he teaches her anyways. As strategy wise, it's sit there and chew bubble gum. But she doesn't have the power for women's flyweight.
No,
That's
she
that
does
was my
not.
big takeaway.
But like that's just this fight though, is because Hebos also is not a natural flyweight either. But
Right,
she is very powerful for it any weight class. And
but
she,
go ahead.
or sorry, I was just gonna say Hebos like maybe won that fight.
Yeah, oh yeah, but like anytime Thug Rose landed clean, 9 out of 10 opportunities there, it looked like Hebos was totally unfazed,
Yeah.
and it's like
And
that
she
should
is pretty chinny too.
right. Like she's not some behemoth or some rock solid anything. Like I like Hebus, but she's not the cream of the crop. And
No.
so it was shocking to see somebody have that little power in a fight against somebody who is also small and was not coming in with this distinct, weight advantage.
Yeah, and like I love Amanda Hebos and like I'll go to bat for her and stuff, but it's she like you said, she is not an impressive that is not an impressive win for Rose
No,
whatsoever
no.
at all,
It,
actually.
and such a far cry from what we thought she was going to be.
Yeah. Even what you'd expect her to do in that fight. Like you look at Rose Namajunas and Amanda Hebos fighting, and you're like, all right, Rose finishes this one, like
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And, maybe down weight again, she would have. But there was just something about with those extra bit of pounds, it's like none of it is going to her power. And I mean, that's just not a winning formula. Unless you can figure out how to maximize those punches and bring some more volume to them, like you're not going to get anything done. There's no success to be had.
Yeah, and I do think Trevor Whitman is probably just sick of MMA Josh Giddey
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
corner, in Rose's corner. Like,
Dude,
I
honestly,
would too.
you might be more favorable to call him MMA Dan Schneider because
Oh my
there was a
God.
there was a far wider age gap than Giddy and which I'm not. That is not an excuse for Josh Giddy. He is still gross for what he did, but the age gap between Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas wider than Giddy and his 15-year-old or whatever gross, disgusting, whatever it was.
Pat Barry is the Shane Gillis kids joke.
Oh,
Do you
there you
remember
go.
that?
Yeah, yeah,
What grade are they in? Fourth?
yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's awful that we can like that we have to talk about it, right? Like it's so garbage that he is like allowed to like not wear orange and get served gruel 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, but Christ, man, like to take over literally Thug Rosa's entire life.
Yeah. Grooming
I
her.
can't wait for her to eventually snap out of that. Hopefully she does. And the big documentary that's going to follow that because that will be so and like refreshing whenever people finally get to hear everything that he is doing.
He has ruined her career.
Yeah, he's ruined
Like
her
this
life,
girl
dude.
beat Zhang Wei Li twice,
Yeah,
which looking at it now is unfathomable because Wei Li is so freaking good. Like Rose's downfall is squarely on the shoulders of Pat Barry.
yep.
That dude sucks
He tried to
so
get her
hard.
to stay in neutral once she got to the top and quickly realized that staying in neutral as a champion is just going in reverse.
Yeah,
And she will never be the same because of it.
no,
And it seems to me on the outside looking in, he has control of every aspect of her life.
yeah,
So,
oh, 100%. It's like one of those, like the Britney Spears situation. What was that called?
conservatorship.
Conservatorship. Yeah,
Yeah.
unofficial conservatorship.
Yeah, they just call it a marriage.
Yeah,
Like, but
yeah,
it's the same, it's literally the same concept for them.
yeah.
Ugh. All right.
Sad.
Yeah. Let's move on. Cameron Simon, Peyton Talbot. Simon got pushed too quick, got into some waters that he probably shouldn't have been. Talbot looks really good. I saw this on Twitter first. I'm not going to act like it's a unique idea, but we need to make sure that Peyton Talbot doesn't get pushed too quick because that's what's ruining all these young stars is getting fed to the lions, like Benoit Saint Denis. It's like that fight should not have been happening right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It
We didn't
with
know who Benoit
Benoit
Saint
is
Denis
like
was this
he's
time last year.
still Benoit, but he's still like in his athletic prime, and like he was like doing very well against Dustin. Granted, that's because Dustin's game plan was jump Gilly, not get it, get put in bad position, and he
Right.
just bailed himself out in that fight. But I mean, with both of these guys, like they're still so young and not like physically mature and at the point of their physical prime. So I get it. I get matching them up at this point. And Talbot looked awesome, but yeah, I agree with you. He's still got to be fighting either guys who are very young or guys who are very old.
Right.
You can't get guys who are within the ages of like 27 to like 34 or 35.
But if you can't, or if you do give them those guys, they cannot be
They got to be
elite at
cans.
anything. Right. Like
Yeah.
they need to be like their primary benefit needs to be their experience. It can't be, oh, they've had 20 fights and they've got really good hands. It's like, no,
Yeah.
he's still trying to figure it out. And you create a lot more Edmund Shabazian and Darren Tills. Shout out Edmund, by the way.
Yeah. That was a
Um,
big win.
happy for
Good
him.
KO.
Yeah, very happy for him. I'm glad. Hopefully he figures it out because he seemed like a nice dude that just got pushed too hard. But you create a lot more of those guys than you do Sean O'Malley's. And you hate to see these dudes that could be something valuable. Like I'm terrified to death that that's about to happen with JDM because like he's right on the cusp and then he's going to have to fight Shavkat, which I know that like that's not exactly like Dustin, but Shavkat's not a joke by any means. So yeah, you run into issues with that. And I hate to see dudes that very clearly have potential be misused when you have so many bodies on this roster that you do not have to feed them to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, it's on those guys to understand where they are because a lot of them, you look at guys like Makayev who are calling for a title shot where I think he would get slaughtered by
Yeah,
Pantoja,
yeah.
right? At this point. But Makayev's 23. Like he is super talented, and I feel like he just has to just take it, move a little slower, and kind of understand just where he is physically and at just at this stage in his career.
But you also have to think about the paycheck he gets. Like he has to generate buzz and ultimately maybe end up in fights that he probably won't win in order to just get better money, better than 25 to show up. Yeah, or 12 to show up and 12 to win, or whatever the normal slash is anymore. Oh, that is a piece of news that we could have talked about. Did you see that the fighter pay lawsuit
Oh,
got
they
settled?
settled the lawsuit. Yeah.
Yeah. And now the UFC has something in their contract saying you cannot sue for fighter pay if you sign this contract. So it ends up being a loss ultimately. The
Yeah.
UFC won again.
Yeah. Like they paid out the money, but in legally they definitely won.
Yeah, because now they know they'll never have to deal with another one of these unless it comes with like the caveat of a fighters union or like it has to be buried inside something else. You essentially have to Trojan horse a fighter pay lawsuit if you're gonna try to pursue that.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but that did just kind of pop up because of what we
Yeah.
were talking
No,
about.
that was a good catch. For sure
Yeah,
deserved to be talked about. We
yeah,
talk about it a lot. So
and I mean we were rooting hard for that lawsuit too. So
yeah,
kind of watching it die the way it did was very disheartening because those guys are just not going to get the money that they need.
no. Or deserved.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they go out there and earn it every single night. There's no reason because isn't it like an 83-17 split on company to fighter pay within, and like
Yeah.
that's the only major sports league that is anything above like 35-65. It's something crazy. And that just shouldn't be possible.
Yep.
Uh,
100%.
all right, let's jump into these predictions, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right, we've got Verna Jandiroba. I think I got that right. And then Luby Godinez. I really like Luby's chances here, dude.
I disagree with you actually here.
Okay.
And I looked it up on YouTube. It's John Anik. Thank you.
Okay.
Vina
Vina.
Janjidoba.
Vina Janjidova. Okay. I was going
So
a little bit too
that's
literal
the
with it.
correct pronunciation of her name.
Vina.
Very tough, but yeah,
Which,
Vina Janjidoba.
well, and we've both seen her at least three fights from Vina.
Yeah,
But it just showcases it's like sometimes this sport is an incredible amount of international.
yeah,
You
which
know,
is
the
great,
only
amazing.
right. The only sport that rivals it in terms of like international star power is soccer.
Yeah,
But that said, sometimes the names get a little tricky.
yes.
And so, yeah, you get stumbly there. But
For the stupid Americans, yeah,
right, yeah,
for the
that
dumb
we're not.
Americans, it
I mean, you can
gets.
hear my accent. You probably are well aware that I'm not that educated. But, but okay, you said you like Vina here, so enlighten me. What are you saying?
I mean, she's just a wizard on the ground. It's pretty simple. And like Loopy with her, I just am not in love with what she's done her last couple of fights. Like, yeah, she's won them, but they've been close and they haven't been against like super great opponents. While Vina has beaten like in her last fight, like Marina Rodriguez absolutely outclassed her in every facet. Like beat Angela Hill before that, who's a tough out for anyone. I
Yeah,
just like what she's put together and what she's put on tape more than she feels like way more of a threat to finish the fight and to even just dominate on the ground like she did against a fighter like Marina, who I would consider to be significantly better than
yeah, yeah.
Loopy. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at. I think Loopy is good. I just don't love how close some of her last fights have been and how just kind of she's looked to me.
Yeah, and I agree as far as, if you're just comparing tape, I would also take Vina because yeah, you're right. She is in a much better state right now. But I kind of found myself like on a 52-48 kind of, like kind of struggling to differentiate. So I jumped into the numbers. Loopy, 86% takedown defense, lands 4.316 strikes a minute. Like those are very comfortable numbers for me when you're going up against somebody who's probably not going to be as like bloodthirsty and seeking a finish like Vina. Like she's going to take her time. She's not going to jump into anything. And if you give Loopy time with her takedown defense and to get some of them strikes off, that seems like a bad setup for me. Now Loopy is a decision fighter. It's not like I'm expecting her to come out here and start her or anything like that. But the formula feels like it could be pretty simple for Loopy, and simple could work here.
But I think it could be the same on the other side.
Yeah,
All Vina needs to do is get Loopy on the ground once, and she's
she's
going to
got the
be in
round.
a lot of trouble.
Right. She's got the round at minimum. She's got the sub at maximum.
Yeah.
Um, but high takedown defense, those strikes should be able to at least keep Vina kind of away from her for the most part. So yeah, I'm betting against Vina really getting much of a clean hold on Loopy,
Yeah.
which probably isn't the safest bet, but here we are.
Yeah, and really it's because of when Vina did fight Marina Rodriguez, I was all over Marina and thought that she would be able to do that. And after watching her collapse, essentially, and get dominated for 15 minutes, I will I'll put my faith in Vina until she proves that I shouldn't. You
Yeah.
know?
And that's you kind of, yeah, just kind of ride the horse that took out your last one and call it good.
Hmm.
Like it makes sense. I
Yeah.
just went analytical with it, kind of mix it up. Don't really want to talk about this next one. Wish Chris Weidman would just retire, but here we are. Um, Chris Weidman versus Bruno Silva. I think Chris is getting slapped.
I do too, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like he came back from the leg injury. Like that's an accomplishment in itself.
Right. You do
He
a fight
lost.
after that, you take your gloves back off and say, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could still do this.
Exactly. Like you are without question a top three middleweight of all time, I would say.
Yeah. If not top five.
Anderson,
You know, like it's you can play
yeah,
around with that 3 to 5 ish. He's on the Mount Rushmore.
yes. Yeah, four is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just, yeah, it's sad. Like, and especially, you're compromising that leg even more by going back in there. Like, I understand you wanted to come back and prove to yourself, prove to everyone that you could do it, that you could come back from that devastating injury. But at this point, it's just like, bro, you lost to Brad Tavares. Where are you going from here? You know,
Shout out
it's
Brad
like it
Tavares.
sucks. I'm dead ass too. Like I don't want this fight to happen.
Yeah. But that's becoming a new thing with these older fighters. It's like they just convince themselves that they can hang on for longer than they can. But yeah, I think Bruno sleeps him within the first 10 minutes of this fight.
Yeah. Habib is the one who said it best, where you have one peak.
Yeah.
You don't get two peaks. You got
Nope.
one peak. And obviously Habib is the guy who went out on top. Obviously, he had some other reasons too as well, but he said it's something that fighters refuse to understand is that you have one peak. Once you're off that peak, you're never getting back. So,
All right, next one we got here, Vicente Luque taking on Joaquin Buckley. Um, Luque is just a better fighter, right? Like
yeah,
this,
well, this was a short notice situation for Buckley.
right?
Um,
Like, come on.
who is Luque initially supposed to fight?
I don't
Oh,
remember.
Sean Brady. Sean Brady.
Yep, there you go.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that would have been a
yeah,
very fun fight.
Luque way better than Buckley.
Yeah,
I
even
Luque
with
finishes
some,
this one.
even with some kind of underperforming ordeals lately, he's still just like he's
Yeah,
32. Like I know he's fight old, but he's 32 years old. Like he is not this washed. Like no offense to Buckley, he's just not to that standard.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a finish, and Luque gets us out early.
yep.
All right,
Quick and
now
easy.
the first of two of my matchmakers that are now, or not matchmakers, but rising stars that are now on this prediction. Manon Fiorot versus Erin Blanchfield. Um, Nervous because I do like Manon a lot.
Manon is very good.
She's very, very talented fighter, but I think Erin can push the ground game here, and that can guide her to a win. Um, it's just you got to make sure not to get hit by Manon too, because that can be
Yeah.
nasty.
Well, I'm also gonna go with Aaron here. And I honestly like I was a little underwhelmed with Manon's last fight against I think it was Caitlin Chukagian, if I remember correctly. Um, yeah, I remember coming away from that being like, I just she might not be everything I thought she was. Um,
Yeah, but
and Caitlin
that's
has a
just
way
such
of
a
doing that with people just because she's kind of a unique challenge.
right.
But I don't know. I love the way Blanchfield's looked. I know she was pushed by it was Oh my God, who is Blanchfield? Oh, Tyler Santos. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's Tyler Santos.
yeah. Which it sucks that Tyler Santos isn't in the promotion anymore. But yeah, she was pushed. Tyler Santos is another one of those kind of freaking nature fighters. Erin was able to figure it out, and I think Tyler Santos is a better fighter than Manon. So
I would put
I
them in similar ballparks. I do think that Manon is far more one-dimensional,
yeah,
especially with Aaron's skill set. Like it is like I'm scared because Manon, yeah, it wasn't the most impressive thing last time, but it wasn't an Icarus situation. You know, she didn't look lost in there.
no,
She just
she
looked
won the
kind of
fight
uncomfortable. Right. Like it was a little underwhelming, but that happens to fighters sometimes. Like I know that she is uber talented. But Erin might legitimately be the flag bearer of women's MMA for the next
for a while.
yeah, next 5 years probably if
For a
she
while,
lands these next couple fights.
where she's at her age is pretty remarkable.
You just usually whenever they come up that early, a lot of times they'll fall kind of early, which is why I said 5 years. But yeah, she if she keeps her head on straight and just keeps doing what she's doing, she's going to be the face of women's MMA for a while.
Yeah. So, Erin, uh, I might take Erin to sub Manon actually.
I'm going to take about a
I'm not super confident in enough in Manon's ground game.
no. I'm going to give decision just on benefit of the doubt.
Five rounds
Just
though.
no, that's true. Yeah, actually, I'll take that sub. I'll switch to sub on that. I low key forgot it was main eventing because that's another one of those that it's like this is the type of fight that the UFC would put at like fourth, like you know what I mean, but like give some goofy random whatever the main slot status. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, with it being 5 rounds, I'll take sub with you.
Yeah. It is a very good, I mean, one of the better women's fights you could make though, out
Yes,
there right available right now.
maybe the best women's fight you can make without a belt.
Yeah. Actually, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
Because
because like
unless you maybe make like a hypothetical with like Nunes or something coming back, her fighting one of those. But
yeah,
though she's not
Nunes.
on the roster, if you're talking two female fighters on the roster who are beltless, this is probably it.
Right. Yeah, you can say like Nunez Kayla or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's like as far as like realistic for right now, I think this is a cream of
Yeah.
crop, and I think that this would maybe still be a more quality fight than that fight would be. I think they would just sell more tickets. So that's where we're at.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then this last one again, another match, or why do I keep calling it matchmaker? Rising Stars of mine, Brendan Allen, who, by the way, was kind of a off the cuff pick for me, but has ended up being one of my most formidable picks. This dude has been
Yes.
right on the money.
Yeah.
Uh,
100%.
and he's taking on Chris Curtis, and that's got me feeling good.
Yeah, I think Brennan wins this fight. I think this was another one that was actually short notice. I think he was supposed to fight like Vittori,
That sounds
um,
right.
or something like
Uh,
that.
yeah, Marvin.
He was supposed to fight Vittori, yeah. So kind of sucks that we won't be able to see him go up against a guy as tough as Vittori. Chris Curtis is super tough too, not as talented. Um, I think this one, I think Brennan will have his way wherever he wants it to go, to be honest.
Yeah, Vittori's the perfect number 5 fighter in a weight class.
Yeah,
He's just uber. He's Josh Emmett. You know what I mean? He's just right there in the thick of things. So
yeah,
he's probably not going to be a champ. Chris Curtis, you can't even say that about him. Like I like the dude. I hope he succeeds, but it's like against a guy like Brendan Allen, you don't think you've got much chance in that.
yeah.
So yeah, that's at least. Well, that's actually concerning that we both went 2-0 on both of my rising stars. I don't like that. One of them's probably going to lose now.
Dude, I don't know. I like those two. I mean, Blanchfield was 1-1. Like
Yes.
that's like you're gonna take it to win, and that's gonna be the same thing when every time Shavkat fights, I know you're gonna pick him. Every
Yeah.
time Umar fights, I know you're gonna pick him. That's just that's just the top of the rising stars list. When you get to like the Giltons and the Brennan Allens even and the JDMs, like
Yeah.
that's where we'll switch up a little bit. But the top of the top, the first and second round picks that we've had, you just gotta ride with it. And Brennan, and this just happens to be a good matchup for Brennan Allen, and why I'll take him.
Before we wrap, I would like to say that I am very impressed with our rising stars. Like nobody's flamed out yet. Like Patty, for example, could have been taken because that was before the Jared Gordon fight, I think. Like that could have been catastrophic. Ian Gary, even to an extent, like right now, is getting kind of chippy. I think mine looks better on paper right now because my dudes have been more active. But yours, as far as like a
And I
talent
also have a
perspective,
loss because Jailton just lost.
right. But like pure talent, you're probably still winning out. My dude's just getting the octagon a lot more often than yours do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always forget that I took Bo Nickel too,
Yeah, I do
which will
too.
be a really interesting one. But
We,
not until he fights someone ranked.
which I would say it is kind of funny because it's like he is one of your rising stars, but also we have to like kind of talk down on him fairly constantly
Yeah.
because it's like he's just getting handed all these gifts basically.
Yeah.
What a nightmare. But all right, to hear any future Bo Nickel rants we might have, Alex, where can they find them?
YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Fox 19 Jackson on Twitter. I have to keep remembering that.
Yes.
Alex Eisman KGWN on Twitter. Um, I don't think we'll have one next week
No, I mean we
because
just did the one fight that we needed to
we
predict
just
for
did
the
the
next
one
one.
important fight. But hey, that's okay because the week after we're gonna be back. We're gonna be talking for a while
Well,
because
and it's the Ides of March. Go enjoy the madness.
yes, facts,
We'll be here when you get back. Just go worry,
facts.
yeah, go worry about your basketball. Go worry about, you maybe tune in to check out Manon and Erin or whatever it is. But um yeah, it's a downtime. It happens, especially with a sport that runs year round. We'll be back in full swing before too long, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Roll Cyclones.
I thought you were about to
Iowa
say roll
State.
tide, and I was gonna end the
No.
thing.
I picked Alabama to lose to Grand Canyon. So sucks.
So quickly, since we're already past the point that people would have already tuned out if they were not into the non-MMA talk, I have Tennessee in my personal, and then we have a work bracket, and I have Gonzaga in that one. And I'm feeling good about
Wow.
both.
Gonzaga's ballsy. I can respect that though. They look very good. They
Well,
look very good.
when you have a duo like EK and Nemert, it's like that's what wins you tournaments. You know what I mean?
I
It's
hope they
just
beat Purdue. I hate Purdue.
yeah, dude. I'm right here with you.
I hope they beat Purdue. But
I was so angry watching them look as good as they did in their last game.
yeah. And I may or may not have bet Utah State plus 11 and a half.
That's insane.
I might have done that.
But Purdue's also the type of team to run up the check at the end of the game. So like
Yeah.
I wouldn't play with covering. Oh, well, I will definitely play with covering for the Zags because I think they're going to put them out. But
Yeah. I don't know. That one makes me a little nervous. I don't know if I'll bet on that, but I do have Tennessee. I think I told you earlier. I do have Tennessee facing Iowa State in the national championship.
yes,
So I have Tennessee going far.
and it was so reassuring to watch Neck look like dog shit in the
Yeah.
last game, and we still won comfortably. Like that was so nice.
Yeah.
Like we are not just Dalton Necht and then a bunch of random dudes. Like some of these boys can play ball, and that's something that was a question coming into the tourney. So, um, thank Christ for Zakai Ziegler, and we'll end this podcast now, I guess. See you, buddy.
Bottom line, enjoy March Madness. We'll see
Yeah.
you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.